Look at me right now. You're not exhausted because life is difficult. You're exhausted because you're living like you're being observed. Here's the sentence that will either shatter your ego or save your future. Nobody cares. Not in a cruel sense, in a freeing one. People don't wake up thinking about your failures. They wake up thinking about their own problems, their own fears, their own image, their own survival. And that truth is terrifying at first, because it means you've been shrinking yourself for an audience that doesn't even exist. So here's the real question. Listen carefully. If no one ever clapped, if no one ever praised you, if no one ever approved, would you still choose greatness? Because the moment you stop chasing attention is the moment you begin moving with precision. You stop explaining. You stop proving. You stop waiting for permission. And when you accept that nobody cares, you become unstoppable. Nobody cares. And not in a heartless way. In a clean, honest, razor-sharp way. The kind of truth that stings briefly and then frees you for life. You feel drained not because life is heavy. Life has always been heavy. You feel drained because you're carrying an invisible audience everywhere you go. Before your feet touch the ground, you imagine eyes on you. What will they think? What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I look foolish? What if I'm not chosen? That's not living. That's performing. And the painful irony is this. The audience you're exhausting yourself for isn't even watching. They're too busy worrying about themselves, their own face, their own bills, their own fears, their own regrets. Most people are trapped in the same cage, just hiding it behind confidence and noise. That's why one comment can ruin your day. That's why you over-explain, over-apologize, over-prove. Somewhere inside, there's still a part of you begging for approval. But here's where the mind tries to poison the lesson. When you hear nobody cares, it whispers, then I don't matter. Or then what's the point? Or then I'm alone. That's not the truth. The truth is, you're free. If nobody is keeping score, you can stop acting. You can stop pretending. You can stop shaping your life around reactions that were never promised. And when permission-seeking ends, movement begins. Think about the last thing you wanted to start. A workout, a skill, a business, a change, and you didn't. Not because you were incapable, but because you imagined embarrassment. You imagined eyes on you while you were still clumsy, still learning, still weak. So you stayed small. Not because life forced you, but because approval became your prison guard. Here's the strange truth. When you succeed, people clap, but mostly for the idea of success. When you fail, people talk, but mostly for a moment of superiority. Then they forget. Their attention is temporary, but you traded your permanent life for it. That's an expensive exchange. This is why you must understand the difference between being liked and being respected. Being liked is fragile. Respect is stable. But the deepest form of respect is self-respect. And self-respect begins the moment you stop negotiating your worth with strangers. Imagine carrying a heavy bag for years. Inside are labels. Good enough, smart enough, successful enough, worthy enough, all written in other people's handwriting. Family, teachers, the internet. And one day you put the bag down and realize you don't know who you are without it. That's why people stay trapped. Not because the prison is strong, but because the chains became familiar. When you stop trying to be seen, you start seeing your breath, your choices, your discipline, your patterns. You stop living from the outside in and start living from the inside out. Your mind keeps searching for proof that you matter to others, but rarely asks whether you matter to yourself. So you check messages, likes, views, deeply. That's not connection. That's addiction. Approval gives a brief hit of relief, but it never lasts. Because approval isn't a foundation. It's a flash. So you need a new foundation. And it starts with a hard decision. I will do the right thing, even if nobody claps. I will train, even if nobody notices. I will build, even if nobody believes. Your ego will resist because the ego wants witnesses, not work. But your life is built in repetition. Your power is built in silence. Here's the question that hits hardest. If nobody could ever see your success, would you still become great? If not, then you don't want greatness, you want applause. And applause is cheap. This isn't about caring less. It's about needing less. Caring is love. Needing is dependence. When you need validation, you become adjustable. You shape yourself to the room. You betray your standards to avoid discomfort. And one day you don't recognize yourself. So we reverse the trade. Learn to disappoint people, not out of arrogance, but honesty. Stop explaining. Stop announcing your plans early. That noise feels like progress, but nothing has been built. Move in silence. Not because you're hiding, because you're working. Some of you were hurt. You tried. You were laughed at, ignored, unsupported. So nobody cares touches a wound. But that wound is also the doorway. Because when you accept that no one is coming to save you, you stop waiting. And waiting is what kills people slowly. You will not feel ready. Readiness isn't a feeling. It's a skill built by showing up unready. Confidence is earned through proof. Small proof, daily proof, quiet proof. Build one identity only. I am consistent. Embarrassment is not danger. It's imagination. And the way out is not thinking. It's action. Do the thing while afraid. Speak while your voice shakes. Start while you feel unprepared. Post while your mind screams. What if they hate it? Go to the gym while you feel skinny. Study while you feel behind. Apply while you feel unqualified. Because the fear doesn't disappear. First, the fear bows down after you act. And then something incredible happens. You realize nobody cared. They moved on, and you're still alive. And now your nervous system learns a new truth. I can survive discomfort. That is unstoppable. Let me give you another angle. Most people are afraid of being misunderstood. They want to explain everything. They want everyone to know their intentions. They want everyone to see their heart. But you must accept a mature reality. Some people will misunderstand you on purpose because if they understand you, they might have to respect you. And respect makes them uncomfortable because it reminds them of what they're not doing. So they reduce you. They label you. They mock you. They try to put you back in a small box where they feel safe. If you live for their understanding, you will never be free. Your job is not to be understood by everyone. Your job is to be aligned with yourself. Alignment gives you peace, and peace is power. Now pause. You feel that your mind is trying to interrupt. It's saying, but what about my family? What about my friends? What about my image? Good question. Listen carefully. I'm not telling you to become careless with your reputation. I'm telling you to stop letting reputation control your integrity because image is what people think you are. Integrity is who you are when nobody is watching. And the deepest confidence comes from knowing your own standards, not from guessing other people's moods. So here's a practice I want you to steal. Before you do something, ask, is this my value or their expectation? If it's their expectation, be careful. Because expectations are endless. You meet one, they raise it. You please one, another complains. You become perfect, they still criticize. Because criticism is not always about you. Sometimes criticism is a mirror of someone's own frustration. So, choose values. Values are stable. Values guide you even when you're confused. Values give you direction when the world is noisy. Now another micro truth. You cannot be both free and approved by everyone. Pick one. If you choose approval, your life becomes negotiation. If you choose freedom, your life becomes responsibility. And responsibility is heavy but clean. Because when you accept responsibility, you stop blaming. You stop complaining. You stop hoping life will be fair. You start asking better questions. Not why me, but what now? Not who will help me, but what can I do with what I have? Not what if they judge me, but what would I do if I didn't care? And when you start living like that, your energy changes. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions faster. You stop seeking permission. People can feel it. That calm refusal to beg. That quiet, I'm not here to impress you. And this is the funny part. When you start chasing people's attention, you often get more respect because you are no longer easy to control. Now let's address the real enemy. Comparison. Comparison is the fastest way to poison. Your discipline. You start working, and then you look sideways. You see someone ahead, someone richer, someone praised, someone winning, and instantly your work feels small, but you don't see their sacrifices. You don't see their behind-the-scenes boredom. You don't see the years where nobody cared about them either. You only see the highlight. So, you punish yourself with a story that isn't complete. This is why you must reduce your inputs. If your mind is constantly consuming other people's lives, it will struggle to build its own. Your attention is your life. Where you place it is what you become. So place it on your next action, not on the crowd, not on the comments, not on the critics, on the next action. Now I want to give you something concrete you can do today, something you can feel. Pick one thing you've been delaying because of other people. Just one. A workout, a phone call, a message, a skill, a project, a boundary you keep avoiding. Then do it today in a way that's intentionally imperfect, not sloppy, just imperfect. Why? Because perfection is often just fear wearing a nice suit. Perfection says, if I do it perfectly, they cannot criticize me, but they still will, and you still wasted time. So, choose progress over protection. And while you do it, repeat a sentence in your head. They're not watching. They're not keeping score. They are busy with themselves. And even if someone does watch, even if someone does judge, even if someone does laugh, what happens? You breathe. You continue. You don't shrink because your life is not a vote. It's a path. Now listen to me. This is where the transformation becomes real. When you truly accept nobody cares, you stop living like you're on trial. You stop defending every move. You stop crafting excuses. You stop explaining your ambition. You start doing. You become less emotional in decisions, more direct in actions. Not cold, clear. You stop trying to be understood. You start trying to be disciplined. You stop chasing confidence. You start building competence. You stop asking, am I enough? And you start asking, am I consistent? And consistency changes you in a way motivation never will. Because motivation is a visitor. Discipline is a resident. And when discipline moves in, your life transforms quietly, not with fireworks, with results, with strength, with a mind that no longer collapses every time it's not praised. Now, I'm going to pull you back to the beginning. Remember what I said? Nobody cares. At first, it hurts, but then it becomes the most relieving sentence you've ever heard. Because it means you can fail without being destroyed. You can learn without being embarrassed. You can start without being Ray. You can change without asking permission. You can be a beginner again. And becoming a beginner again is how you become unstoppable. Because unstoppable is not someone who never falls. Unstoppable is someone who falls, stands up, and doesn't make a drama out of it. They don't need a crouch to restart. They don't need applause to continue. They don't need approval to improve. They just return to the practice again, again, and every again is a brick. And one day you look back and realize you build a life that doesn't depend on anyone's opinion. And that is the first time you truly feel what freedom feels like. So before you go back to your day, before you scroll again, before you ask for another sign, another reassurance, another yes from the world, try this. Sit still for 1 minute. No performance, no proving. Just you, and ask yourself quietly, what would I do today if I truly accepted that nobody cares? And then do the smallest version of that thing today. While your mind complains, while your ego resists, while the old habit begs you to wait. Because that moment right there, that moment where you act without being witnessed, that is where your new life begins. And if you can repeat that moment tomorrow and the day after, you will start noticing something strange happening inside you. A calmness, a sharper focus, a quieter mind, a stronger spine, and you'll realize you're not trying to be seen anymore. You're trying to be solid. You're trying to be real. You're trying to be the kind of person who can keep a promise even when nobody's clapping, even when nobody's commenting, even when nobody is cheering because your standards are no longer rented from the world. They are yours. And once that happens, you don't need to announce it. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to argue with critics because the work is speaking in a language that doesn't require permission. And the next time your mind says, what if they don't care? You will almost smile because that's the whole point. And then you'll ask yourself, what else have I been postponing for an audience that was never really